Shabbat shalom, everyone. I want to share with you a few thoughts about Parashat Yitro, this week's Torah reading. Parashat Yitro, of course, contains the Ten Commandments, Aseret HaDibrot, one of the four texts of Judaism. The Ten Commandments are retold, or they're repeated in slightly different version in the book of Deuteronomy, in Parashat V'Elchanah. But this is where it all happens, right? This is the story of Mount Sinai. I want to share with you two moments that seem disconnected, but for me, really connect in a powerful and profound way. First, we have near the very beginning of the parasha, this scene when Moses meets up with his father-in-law, Yitro, Jethro, and with his wife, Tzipporah. This is what the Torah says about that reunion. Vayomer el Moshe, speaking to Moses, Ani chotencha Yitro ba'elecha. I, your in-law Jethro, am coming to you, ve'ishtecha u'shnei vaneha ima, along with your wife and her two sons. Moses went out to meet his father-in-law. The Torah tells us, vayishtachu, vayishak lo, vayishalu ish l're'ehu l'shalom. He bowed low, he kissed him, each asked after the other's welfare, and they went into the... What is missing from this verse? What's missing from this verse is any sort of reunion or connection between Moses and his wife, Moses and his children. We see a reunion, we see a connection between Moses and Jethro, two leaders of peoples, but we don't see a connection between Moses and his own family. But furthermore, we also see that Jethro says to Moses, I am coming along with your wife and her two sons. Why does it say her two sons and not your two sons or the two sons you have together? The rabbis think about this, and different commentators understand that to mean that this text shows us that Tzipporah actually raised the children. When Moses was away, Moses was busy, Tzipporah raised the children. Why does Moses not react to Tzipporah? Why does Moses not react to his family, only to his father-in-law? Different commentators tell us answers. Rashi tells us that Moses to honor Jethro because of the position that Jethro held, but that it just wasn't appropriate, as Ibn Ezra says, for Moses to do so for his wife and his children. It's just not the way things were then. I can't help but think that perhaps there's something more there. But perhaps Moses is the first example of a person who was so absorbed with his work, even though it's incredibly important work, he was so absorbed with his work that he ignored his family. He was so absorbed with the incredibly important work that he was doing that he didn't pay enough attention to the people who had been closest to him. That's one scene I was to hold on to. The next scene is the 10th commandment. The 10th commandment is lo tachmod, not covet. And it talks about the various things that you're not supposed to covet. The rabbis try and understand, how could it be that the 10 commandments and that the Torah and God is commanding, can you really help yourself from coveting? There are different ways that the rabbis deal with it. Rashi deals with it in one way, saying that it's about coveting something very specific. The 8th commandment, do not steal. Maimonides says that it's only coveting that leads to action that is prohibited. But most rabbis say, no, it's really the emotion. It's coveting itself that we should stay away from. I've been thinking about this. Here we are in COVID. Here we are thinking about people who are ill, people who are healthy, people who are able to get away and have some of quiet, and people who are not. And I'm guessing that there's a whole lot of coveting going on, a whole lot of looking over, seeing what other people are doing, looking over the fence and seeing what others are doing, and wondering, why can't I have that? I want my family, I want myself to be healthy, but it would be nice, but I just can't. It would be nice to have time away. I can't do it. It would be nice to have all kinds of things, but it may not be possible for all of us. That's what leads me to the beginning of the parasha, and Moses and his wife and his children, and Moses' father, Jethro. I think the lesson for us to learn there is a lesson that we read in Pirkei Avot. Who is called, who is rich? It is the person who is happy with his lot in life. The person who knows what he has and who appreciates it. That is the person who is real, the person who is rich. I hope for all of us, we can look around at the people who are closest to us and we can appreciate them. Even though we may be working very hard, we should never lose sight of those who are closest to us. It would be easy to covet what others have, and yet the person who is truly rich, the person who combines wisdom and all of the goodness that Judaism wants of us, that is the person who does not covet what others have, but who is happy with what he has in life. For me, that is an essential that we can learn from both the beginning of the Torah reading, which is before the Ten Commandments are given, and from the very last of the Ten Commandments as well. And one that tells us not even to have the emotion of coveting, because who knows where that will lead. Shabbat Shalom.